All right, in this video we want to talk about price controls. We begin by looking at a supply and demand graph and noting the market equilibrium point, and at that point the price would be 50 reals and a quantity demanded of and supplied of 5 units. So total revenue would be 50 times 5 or 250. This area here would be the buyer surplus. The area below would be the producer surplus or seller surplus. Anything above the supply curve and below price is seller surplus. Anything below the demand curve and above price would be the buyer surplus. Now let's assume that the government steps in and imposes a 70 real minimum price or a price floor. At that price, what is the new quantity demanded? We just note where the price intersects the demand curve and drop a line down, a vertical line down, and we see that 3 units would be demanded at that price. The supply, however, we find by looking at where the price line intersects the supply curve, dropping down to the quantity axis, and we see that 7 units would be supplied. The difference between those two is actually a shortage, or a surplus, because quantity supplied significantly exceeds quantity demanded. So we have this surplus. The actual surplus would be 7 supplied minus 7 demanded, or a surplus of 4 units. Now we also want to take a look at what happens to the surpluses on the buyer and the seller side. So let's just divide those areas up into A, B, C, D, E, and F. E and F, we know, are lost to deadweight loss. They go away because no longer can those buyers or sellers transact at a price. The sellers don't believe the price is worth more than $70 or 70 reals. Therefore, they would not show up to buy the product. If they're not there, the sellers would find no buyers and no sales would occur. Both the buyers and the sellers would leave the market. The other thing that happens is this B area, the buyers lose that to the sellers. The sellers now are able to charge a 70 real price, where before they were only able to charge a 50 real price. So the seller surplus actually now includes B, C, and D areas, and the buyer surplus is left to just the A area. So in review, buyers would lose E to deadweight loss and lose B to the sellers. The sellers would lose F to deadweight loss but gain B from the buyers. We can calculate those areas. The A area is simply 100 minus 70 is the height, and the base would be 3 units. So we'd have 30 times 3 or 90. We divide that by 2 to get the triangle area, which would be 45. B would be, the area B would be 20 times 3 or 60. The same area for C. D would be the same as A, or 45. Area E would be 70 minus 50 or 20 times 5 minus 3 or 2. And then we would divide that by 2 and we would get 20, and F would be the same area. To check these areas, we could also count up the blocks in the grid pattern. Each one of those blocks is worth 10 units. All right, let's take a look at another situation where we have supply and demand again. There's our equilibrium points in consumer or buyer and producer surplus. In this case, we look at a maximum price or pricing of 20 reals. Under that condition, the new price line would intersect supply at 2 units, and it would intersect demand at 8 units. So our difference would be noted as a shortage because our demand is significantly higher than a quantity supplied. To calculate the actual amount, it'd be 8 minus 2 or 6. Now to look at the areas here, we go ahead and block those areas off and label them A, B, C, D, E, and F. We know that E and F are lost to deadweight loss because at this point there would be lots of buyers show up but no sellers would show up. So E and F would be lost to deadweight. And then also we note that C would move from the producer or the seller side down to the buyer side. Once again, buyers used to buy the product at 50 and now they buy it at 20. They enjoy that much lower price, and therefore that C area would go now to the sellers. So the seller surplus is just simply D, and the buyer surplus is now A, B, and C. In summary, the buyers would lose E to deadweight loss but gain C from the sellers, and the sellers would lose F to deadweight loss and lose C to the buyers. There are the calculations for the respective areas. Hopefully this helps you to understand price controls. We end up with just that tiny little area of seller surplus.